Welcome back to another episode of Interview with Scientists series. Our guest for today is Elaine Finucane. Elaine is a Cochrane Fellow and Research Associate with the HRB Trials Methodology. She is also working on projects related to health facts and the People's Trial. Today we will talk with Elaine about her work, iHealth Facts, and fact checking. Welcome, Elaine, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's start the conversation by asking you about your work at Health Facts.
Sure. Like I said, I work with iHealth Facts,
Yeah.
and it's I suppose it derived originally because of the pandemic. So we're a group. We work with I work with the HRB, so the Health Research Board
Yeah.
Trials Methodology Research Network in Ireland, and I also work with Evidence Synthesis Ireland and Cochrane Ireland, and I suppose across that and together with partners and evidence advisors, we developed iHealth Facts. And initially it was in direct response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
But we do believe that there's a major role for it going forward. So what do we do? So basically what we do is it's an accessible forum, an online platform for people to be able to check the reliability of health claims that they
Okay.
see on social media. So
Okay.
we only look at health claims on social media. And so there's two options. As in, we ourselves are looking at health claims, but we ask the public to submit health claims for us.
Okay.
And we prioritize these, first of all, based on how often we're seeing, so how important it is to people. And we base it on how often people submit claims to us. So we know if 50 or 100 people are submitting the same claim in a day, that's a major claim that's bothering people. And also then we prioritize it on how likely that claim is to have a public health, a negative effect on public health.
Yes.
So, you might remember some of the claims were to do with bleach or, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but so those ones would have been major, would have had major public health repercussions if people had taken them serious. So they were ones that we also looked at.
Okay. So how difficult is this task to complete?
How
difficult?
Well, I suppose because we're combating misinformation and disinformation, we have a very systematic process, and it's also very transparent.
Okay.
And we do that to help people not only to answer a claim that they've asked us, but also we're hoping that by showing them the process that we go through and where we've gotten all our information, that'll help them maybe going forward to be able to critically assess health claims themselves. So each claim, it's actually literally, if you look at the claims, so it's on www.ihealthfacts.ie. If you look at the claims, you can see we have a lead researcher. It's a named lead researcher. So they get the claim initially, and then they draft a draft answer for it. And so what we first of all try and do is try and locate the source material for accuracy. Then initially we look for systematic reviews of studies to help us inform how we're going to answer this claim. If they're not available, we'll look for individual studies, and then we'll also, if it's appropriate, we'll look for evidence from reputable health agencies.
Okay.
I suppose we're lucky in that within our group, we have a very diverse group. So we have academics, we have clinicians, bacteriologists, obstetricians, a very diverse group. And so what we try and do for the second researcher and the evidence advisor is maybe get somebody who has experience within the topic that we're talking about. So after the lead researcher has drafted a question, it goes independently to a second researcher to review it.
Okay.
It's all, tracked changes, it's sent back. So we keep all these different copies of the claim answer. And then eventually it goes to an evidence advisor who again independently reviews it, goes back with any changes to the lead researcher. Finally it goes to a PPI, so a public representative, and they look at it in terms of, from a public perspective, are we answering the question in how the public would like to see that answered? And then it also goes to for a journalistic overview, and that's simply, I suppose, because we're conscious that we're presenting this to the public, and we want to make sure that it's understandable. It's not that the journalist makes any changes to the content. It's just purely from an aesthetic point of view.
Okay, that sounds very
Yeah, and
interesting.
it's only then at that stage that it gets put on the website. So and this happens for each claim, so it's the same process for each claim.
Yeah. So, how did you handle the bleach treatment? I
I
must
suppose,
say it must have been very difficult for you because of supporters and oppositions to
yeah,
that
I suppose
claim.
in fairness, there was a lot of claims floating around social media,
Yeah.
particularly I think at the beginning of the pandemic, so maybe this time last year. And you can understand people were afraid. It was new. We've never,
Yes.
living history for most people have never experienced
Yeah.
something like this. And the fact that it was global made it more difficult or more frightening, I think.
Yes.
So we handled it the same as everything else, every other claim that we've done. So we're we're independent.
Yeah.
We're very upfront about what we do. We don't make recommendations. We only present the evidence. So
Okay.
when we do our searches and when we look for the evidence, we completely report the evidence we find. So whether that's contrary to what people are saying
Yeah.
or not, so the evidence is the evidence, and that's what we report.
Okay. That sounds great. So, can you tell us something about your association with Cochrane?
Sure, I suppose. Are you talking about my association with Cochrane or iHealthFacts? Both.
Yeah, both. Let's say both.
Okay, so in terms of iHealthFacts, again, we're an independent body, so our only really association with Cochrane is that we absolutely would use Cochrane systematic reviews if they're there, if they're available.
Yeah.
And also, Cochrane have an online presence called Evidently Cochrane.
Okay.
And they've started in the last number of months to link at the end of their blogs
Okay.
to iHealthFacts, so
Okay.
that if people read something or there's comments at the end of the blogs and they want it checked, that we would act as a fact-checking service for them. But again, we're completely independent to Cochrane. In terms of myself, I said I'm lucky enough, like I said, I'm a Cochrane Fellow.
Yeah.
I'm also involved with Cochrane Ireland, which is under the umbrella of Evidence Synthesis Ireland.
Yes.
And I'm on the teaching faculty for them there.
Okay, that sounds really a good combination of both iHealthFacts and Cochrane. So that brings to my next question. So you provided some examples from the pandemic for fact check.
Yes.
Can you give me some examples which were not related to the pandemic but which you worked on before the pandemic?
Sure. So I suppose we're dependent on the public giving us questions.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, over the last year, they've all really been about COVID-related claims.
Yes.
And it was actually a call that we're putting out, is asking people to ask us about other claims. We I think to date we've only answered one that's not non-pandemic.
Okay.
And that was one. So in Ireland, there's an old wives' tale that there's a plant called a dock leaf. It's just a green leafy plant.
Yeah.
And the old wives' tale in Ireland is that if you get stung by a nettle, if you rub this on your hand, that it takes the pain away. And that was one that we fact checked. We were asked it a couple of times online, and we just thought it would be interesting and it would show our diversity. So we answered that claim. Unfortunately for the mothers in Ireland, we didn't find that there was any evidence to support it. But I don't know if it'll stop people doing it. But, yeah.
And do you get questions like for the qPCR, why do the people do 45 is negative, you cannot get results in 45 cycles or 40 cycles? Do you get questions related to that?
No, I think the questions that we've gotten, I suppose, again, they have to be claims.
Yes.
So they have to be I'm just going to have a look here and see some of the ones that we've gone through. So, like, I remember one of the initial ones actually was, does holding your breath for 15 seconds, I believe it was, does that tell you whether you've had COVID or not?
Okay.
And I suppose when you read some of our claims, they can come across as a little bit trivial at times.
Yeah.
But if you think about even that one, for instance, what people were being told is if you could hold your breath for 15 seconds, you were assured you didn't have COVID.
Okay.
But what we found is that there was no evidence, obviously, to support this. And actually what could be happening is you could have COVID and could hold your breath for 15 seconds.
Okay.
So, and maybe needed to seek medical attention, and people were putting it off because they were following this claim online. So even though it seemed like a real trivial one, it actually could have had serious consequences down the road for people if they didn't seek medical attention for that.
No, that's very important to seek medical attention whenever
Absolutely,
needed.
yeah.
So, how can we differentiate between good and bad health information just by looking at it?
I suppose, again, like I said, within iHealthFacts, what we try and do is within each claim that we answer, we link to source material, and so that's a little bit of a learning. So we'll link to like systematic reviews we've found.
Yes.
We'll link to explanations for what a systematic review is. So if you mentioned this is a systematic review, we'll link to explanations for that. What's a randomized control trial? But you might notice at the end of each claim, we have 3 or 4 little statements about how to recognize, claims or not, what are
Yes.
trustworthy or untrustworthy information. And these link back to a group called Informed Health Choices. They link to a website called that'saclaim.org. And so this group were led by a initiative in Norway led by Andy Oxman. And basically they kind of looked at what were the key concepts that people needed to be able to recognize to differentiate whether a claim was trustworthy or not trustworthy. And so they looked at their principles, I suppose, where they looked at what people needed to know to recognize a claim, to recognize whether the evidence was whether the evidence on the comparison was trustworthy or not, and then to be able to use that information to make well-informed choices about treatments. And so that's why at the end of each of our claims, we link to that website. And so that's kind of a learning resource that the public can use as well.
Okay. And what are some credible sources for fact-checking, apart from iHealth?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, of course, the first one would be iHealthFacts. I suppose another one is if you look on the Cochrane website, they have they do special collections, and they have one for COVID-19. So they do editorials, they highlight new reviews are based on COVID, or updates to reviews. And I suppose, like iHealthFacts, everything in Cochrane is very transparent.
Okay.
They're very open. If it's an update, they'll tell you the update. And so, obviously, a credible source. Other ones, I suppose, are government bodies like the WHO, CDC. Our health, the health HSE in Ireland. I suppose it's important when you're looking at websites to make sure that they're reputable websites, that they're transparent in their methods. So if they're making claims, that they're telling you what those claims are based on.
Yes.
And again, I suppose the learning from iHealthFacts can help you, make decisions around that trustworthiness.
Okay. And how can people get involved with iHealthFacts, and what opportunities are currently available?
Sure. So at the moment, we really would love to hear from people in terms of submitting claims, letting us know what they want us to look at. While most of our claims are based, we're aimed at the Irish public. What we found is that we're an online resource, and that these claims have been global, have been international. They haven't really made a difference between it, whether it's in Canada, Australia, Ireland. It's the same. Tends to be the same claim everywhere. So we'd love to hear from people. We're absolutely interested. If anyone is interested in collaborating, we're always open to that. So our website again is www.ihealthfacts.ie. Happy to talk to anybody.
Okay. And as I know, you are a very busy person, like you are a midwife as well. You work as a midwife.
Yes. Yes.
How do you pursue your hobbies, or what hobbies do you pursue?
So I work as a midwife clinically, and I'm also a researcher with the National University of Ireland in Galway. I have a family, so in my spare time, which isn't a lot at the moment, I do like to read. I wish I could travel more, and I'm hoping that things change soon and that we could get back to traveling a little bit more. But at the moment, we, like most of the world, I think our country is in lockdown, so we have
Yes.
a 5 kilometer restriction based on us, so we're not
Okay.
getting to do much at the moment. But yeah, there will be my hobbies: reading and traveling.
Okay. And to end, before we end the discussion, I just wanted
Sure.
to ask you and give your opinion, and you should give your opinion like why is fact checking very important?
Okay. I suppose fact checking or knowing how to critically assess claims
Yes.
has always been important. I think it's come more to the forefront because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think when the World Health Organization talked about this infodemic of information that came
Yes.
with the pandemic, I think people sat up and took notice of the fact, we know, I think, is it off the top of my head, 4.5 billion people in the world have access to the internet.
Yes.
And a lot of that information comes through unfiltered. And while the internet is hugely important, it can also have negatives in that people are trying to decipher what's trustworthy or what's not trustworthy.
Yes.
So, like I said, while a lot of our claims have been based on COVID-19,
Yeah.
this is an ongoing issue that people, I suppose, um, need to be aware of, how to assess the trustworthiness of claims.
Okay.
So I think iHealthFacts, I can only speak for ourselves. The transparency. So not only are we fact checking claims to the public, but we hope we're offering a learning initiative or opportunity for the public also to be able to go forth and be able to fact check their own
Yes.
claims from the learning that they've gotten from iHealthFacts.
Okay. And there is one more question that I thought of. What
Sure.
about vaccines? Vaccines are important,
Yes.
we know, but some
Yeah.
people say that vaccines can cause a lot of different disorders. You will be infertile, and these are not correct, right?
Yeah, so I suppose actually, if you keep an eye on the iHealthFacts website, we're literally just about to
Okay.
answer to vaccine claims.
Yeah.
I suppose, look, this conversation around vaccines has been going on long before
Yes.
the COVID-19 vaccines, and I suppose again, we know we can see you from the evidence
Yes.
how effective vaccines are in
Of
preventing
course.
disease. And I suppose the same as every other health claim that we're seeing online. You asked me earlier, how did we fact check when we saw the one
Yes.
about bleach? We checked those claims exactly the same. So we looked for the evidence.
Yeah.
We looked to see whether that was reputable evidence, whether it was robust.
Yes.
Where did it come from? What comparisons did they use? And that's exactly the same process that members of the public should go through as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Elaine,
No problem
today.
at all.
It was a real pleasure speaking to you, and definitely fact checking is important, and everyone should
Absolutely.
do that before jumping for conclusions.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you once again for being
Thank
on our
you.
show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.